Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. I am Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ. I can't hear you. No, you gotta turn on your microphone. No, I still can't hear you. What is going on?
I'm Cap this evening. I can't turn the mic.
Apparently, hey, that's not fair. Okay, one of us does it every week. Like,
oh, two of a kind.
Man,
all I said was
this
Snyder Cut!
Is such a professional show. This is this is what happens on episode 101 of something. You have just a fantastic 100th episode, and then, yeah, don't tune in for the next one. It can only go downhill from there. No, thanks so much for being here, everybody. Let's see if we've got some folks in our comments this evening. There's Anime 2020. The Day Ghost is there. How you doing, Austin? Gengar Venom, Christopher Barker, Rainbow Nightmare, Daniel Davis, Senior Nerd. Lots of folks. It's good to see everybody. Tonight, we are going to chat about something that I kind of wanted to do a whole show on last week, and the news came at a kind of inopportune time for the channel anyway. We did our big 100th episode spectacular last week where I answered an unprecedented 100 questions of varying degrees of challengingness for 2 hours on Thursday night, and a couple of those questions were about the Snyder Cut, but I said about the news, the release of the Snyder Cut on HBO Max next year, and I said, look, if anybody wants to ask about this, I'll answer things really briefly, but I have to go like 30 seconds at a time, so I can't really elaborate the way I might want to, and we will do a show on this next week. So this is us doing a show on this next week, or this week now. So welcome everybody. Feel free to ask us anything throughout the show about the Snyder Cut or HBO Max. I want to chat about that a little bit tonight as well. Some of the stuff that they have in store for us there, the price point on that, the whole weird branding with HBO Max, the fact that we don't know everything that's on that yet. I want to tackle a lot of that stuff. That drops tomorrow, so you can right now, in case you're not aware of it, you can still get the $3 a month off deal that they're offering, and whenever you look at their website, every hour it drops down and says only 7 hours left, only 6 hours left. So for a little bit longer today, you can still go and do that if you are so inclined. I'm not doing that yet. I'm having kind of I don't even want to say wait and see attitude. Obviously, inevitably, I'm going to be forced to subscribe to this at some point, but I don't, DJ, really need anything on it like right this very minute, so I don't think I'm going to subscribe right away like I did Disney Plus, unless there's just a lot of requests for us to review it as a service, but we didn't do that with Disney Plus, so I don't really see the point of doing that with this. And a lot of the things that I would want to watch there that I know for sure are going to be there are things that I already have. That's kind of the problem with being a superhero movie collector is, you know, they're making a big deal out of every DC movie made in the last decade and every Batman and Superman movie over the last 40 years. And I'm like, yeah, I have all that. It's right behind me. I don't mind pulling a discount. So I don't have to subscribe to it for that, but there may be some stuff on there that I don't know about that I'm really going to want it for. So anyway, are you going to go for it right away, DJ, or are you going to wait as well?
I signed up earlier this day. Earlier
this
today.
This day? What are we at church?
This is the day that HBO Max has made.
The HBO Max has made.
I'll subscribe and be glad in it.
What stuff right away is going to be there that you that you feel the need to subscribe for?
Because I already have HBO and it's $3 cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm saving money.
Oh, yeah, good call. I didn't realize you were already paying for HBO. Yeah, I'm hearing that from a lot of people.
And all of HBO is going to be on there. So it's like, if you have HBO and you don't do it, I don't know what you're doing. You're just like wasting money, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think, so everybody seems confused about this. I've seen conflicting reporting about this. A lot of reporting is saying that they're supposed to give you HBO, is it Now? Is that the main one? HBO's current streaming service, you're supposed to get for free. You're supposed to get Max for free if you're already subscribed to that, but I can't tell if that's really true or if you have to go in and make sure that you sign up for it. I'm not sure how exactly that works, but
yeah, so I actually, and it's vice versa too. So if you sign up for HBO Max, you get HBO Now for free now until HBO Max comes out.
Yeah, but I don't know what the point of that is because it's just doubled up. It's all the same content. I mean they've got new content, but everything on now you already have. I don't understand that.
Yeah, well, it made sense up until like it comes out, because like if you pre-order the HBO Max, then you get the stuff until it comes out. But I already had HBO now, so it's superfluous.
The assumption is that at some point now goes away, obviously, because it's redundant, but we don't know when that's happening, and I thought it was kind of odd that they didn't do that right away. And I don't know if there's just some kind of... There's a lot of, like, weird... rights issues isn't the way to put it, but stuff with contracts and things that they're not allowed to do certain things they really want to do. Like they wanted to go with a lower price point, but because of like their contracts with certain cable companies, they weren't allowed to do that, so they had to put it at the $15 price point because that's what they were already charging for HBO Now. They weren't allowed to go any lower than that, and things like that. So I wonder if not dropping HBO Now has some kind of weird legal something with contract language. It's the best I can figure. I have no idea.
Yeah, they're all over the place, man, because they got the HBO Now and HBO Go and HBO Max, and then they got the DC streaming service, which is still up in the air. Like,
yeah, we have no idea what's happening with that. But they're not announcing new things for DC Universe, and some of the content that they're making there, they've already announced will start going over to HBO Max. And I don't know if that means that it's not going to be on DC Universe anymore, but I assume so. Or at least, new seasons. I don't know. It's hard to say. Although it would be weird if they had like 2 seasons of Titans and they went, well, season 3 is going to be over here on Max, so none of it's on DC Universe anymore. Or only the first 2 seasons are there. I have no idea. I'm assuming that is going away or going to be turned into something else or folded into something else. But anyway, that's all stuff that we can talk about more at length if people want us to. I'm already seeing super chats. I'm already seeing pre-written questions. DJ, let's go ahead and start with a pre-written just to jump right into this. And obviously, I could just springboard into a diatribe about the Snyder Cut and how I'm terrible at predicting things. But I will go ahead and just let the viewers, as usual, dictate the remainder of the hour. And you guys go ahead and throw out questions and ask us about anything you want to. Let's try to keep it mostly about this stuff. If there's something just burning that you really want me to talk about that's not about this subject, feel free to throw that in as well, but we'll probably mostly only tackle that stuff in Super Chat. As always, if you want to make sure that your question or comment is discussed on the air, you can leave a Super Chat, but we'll get to as many pre-written things as we can as well. Go ahead, DJ. Let's get started.
Well, here's one. Here's a pre-written from Utale, and I've heard a lot of people say this. This is a good question. If the pandemic didn't happen, would the Snyder Cut still happen in 2021?
I have also been thinking that, yeah. I've had the same thought. Now,
it's a big thing. Like, they can't make anything new right now, so they're like, hey, we got this sitting around.
We've got it sitting around. There's clearly an interest in it. There's at least a vocal minority of people being really loud and obnoxious about this. They made a billboard about it, and as we know, as soon as a billboard gets made, the likelihood of something getting done that fans wanted goes up by like 1,000%. This is how the Surge movement got Coke to start making the Surge again. They put a billboard right across from Coke's main manufacturing plant, and they went, I don't know, maybe we should make Surge again. So I'm not saying that the fact that they made a billboard is why this is happening. That was mostly a joke, DJ. But I don't know. Like I said, I didn't predict this. I really thought that it would be years from now before we would see this. I thought it would be a Donner Cut thing, where it's like once the kind of smoke had cleared and not as many people cared, maybe they would consider going ahead and doing it for the people that were still interested. But I just figured that it was real, like, against the kind of brand of DC movies that they're trying to do at the moment, and that that was so embarrassing for them. How embarrassing that they maybe wouldn't want to like drum all of that up again. And I think that is going to be maybe something of a risk, but yeah, I think it does have a lot to do with quarantine. I would be surprised to learn that no, they were planning this for the last like several weeks or months, and they're just now getting around to telling us about it. I'm totally with you and with Mutale. I think they're kind of groping around for new content to put up on HBO Max because we can't film anything right now. I know one of the original pieces of programming they're going to be doing is a like remote from a person's house cooking show with like chefs on remotely through, you know, like Zoom calls or Skype calls or whatever. I mean, they're like kind of desperate for content. So they have a couple of already, you know, pre-filmed seasons of things that they're starting. They're doing like a rom-com show and some things like that, but that's got to have a lot to do with this. And so, yeah, if it weren't for the virus, I don't know if we would have seen it this early. At the same time, the rumor of it coming out on HBO Max predates the virus by months. We heard this for a long time, people going, they're going to put it on HBO Max. Now, the fact that that happened, or that is happening, I don't think means necessarily that was always their plan. But it might be that they heard fans even suggesting that idea and said, yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe we should do that. We've got this sitting around, and we're not going to put it in the theater. You know, we're not going to spend the money to do that. And for the foreseeable future, people can't go to theaters, or a lot fewer people are going to go to theaters. So yeah, let's go ahead and spend the money to remaster it, because after all, it's cheaper than making a new show, and we can't make any of those. And I'm hearing a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, I wasn't going to subscribe to HBO Max, but I've got to see that. So it's going to get them subscribers, most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it may have happened eventually, but I do think that obviously the quarantine sped it up, if nothing else. We have a super chat from 5590ERS.
Hi.
Do you think Justice League should have been split into 2 parts? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see the movie that Snyder made, and I mean, it's awkward because yeah, they've got enough footage to make a Snyder Cut, but would this movie have been exactly what we're going to see if the situation had been different, if he hadn't left when he left, if there hadn't been so much backlash from BVS, etc., etc.? Probably not, but we'll never know exactly what that was going to look like. So when we see, you know, as finished of a version of this and as much of, you know, an unfettered vision from Snyder as we're going to get next year, I may get to the end of that movie and go, yeah, I wish they had split this up. On the other hand, I imagine that ends on something of a cliffhanger, right? Like, it was supposed to kind of be split up in the first place. Like, it was leading into another movie, was it not? Or had they already decided there wasn't going to be a part 2 at the time that they started filming that? I'm a little fuzzy on the details because it's been a few years now.
Yeah, I think by the time he actually started filming, they had planned that it would be 1 movie, but it definitely was originally supposed to be 2 movies. I don't know either. I could be completely wrong.
It's hard to say until I see the way his ends, right? Like, if they try to truncate everything that would have been in 2 parts in that 1 part, then obviously I'm going to say, yeah, they should have split it into 2 movies, but I kind of got to see, you know, the Infinity War to Endgame of it all before I can say that. Like, you know, now that all of that is over, yeah, I think maybe Endgame should have been, you know, considered a part 2 like they had originally said. It would have at least been a little bit less confusing and making a big deal out of, you know, out of nothing with the, what is that title going to be? Oh, Endgame. Okay, like the most generic thing you could have thought of. All right. And it doesn't really give anything away. Like, you acted like it was going to. So retroactively, it's really easy for me to say, yeah, maybe that should have been the same title and it had, you know, part 2 and part 1, part 2 on it like it was going to. But I can't really say with this. With the movie that we got, I can't say that should have been split into 2 parts, DJ, because it's a 45-minute movie stretched to a little bit longer, but not much. So.
Yeah, I mean, if we have Darkseid in this version and everything, then yeah, we probably should have split it in 2 parts. I don't know how far he's gonna go with this one, but
Professor Zoom says it's a standalone story. The only element that hints a sequel is Darkseid, so it's already a compromised vision from what he originally wanted to do. That's not to say anything about the quality of what he would have made or how silly I might think that some of his story ideas are. I just know that he had kind of a trilogy, you know, 3-movie vision between BVS and his Justice League Part 2, and that he would have, you know, killed other characters, and that we were supposed to see a despotic Superman, as far as I understand it, and all of that. So that means that. And I'm a little bit rusty, and I'm catching back up, remembering all of these things that I've honestly excised from my mind for a long time, because I didn't think I'd ever have to really think about them again, at least all that much. Because, you know, I don't love what Snyder's vision was, and it's kind of just, you know, grim dark music video. but kind of pretentious and acting like it's in being really self-serious and acting like it means more than it really does, that kind of thing. Somebody I saw it earlier in the comments. I'm sure this is a big question that a lot of people have, so I'll go ahead and answer this now. Asked if I what are the odds that it's any good? And that's a relative word when we're talking about the things that Snyder made before this, right? Like, I don't see him suddenly sobering up and turning around and going, oh, this is what makes superhero movies that actually resonate with people, when I'm not adapting from a story that already did that. And by adapting from, I mean taking precisely the storyboards or the panels from a good story and just putting it on screen. I've said this a million times. The man's good at that, and he's not good at crafting a story himself in the first place. It's all about the visuals, and it's all about looking badass and stuff. So, yeah, I don't think there's any chance this is a good movie. Good by, I guess, my standards of decent storytelling. Obviously, I'll be really super surprised if all of a sudden this is like really my standards, DJ, are to this place. Coherency. I don't expect it to be totally coherent. His other two movies weren't. I don't think he's suddenly going to understand how to make a movie like that, unless Warner's like really super reined him in. And wouldn't that be really weird if it's like he got reined in and he made a movie that made a lot more sense, that would appeal to people that want good stories. I don't know how else to put it, but like, to not just fans that want to see the kind of like 90s Marvel thing of just be as, or even Image thing, just be as rough and tumble and violent as possible. That's what I want from my superhero movies. Would it be really strange if that's the movie he made because they forced him to, and maybe he had some help this time, but then they were still worried about it, and they still had Joss Whedon come in and try to fix it? Like, the fact that they thought that it needed to be fixed tells you it's gonna be more of the same for the most part, I think. However, I do think that there's every likelihood it will be a much more interesting movie, and probably entertaining in a completely different kind of way from Justice League, but not from BVS.
A lot of activity tonight, man. People are awesome. Thanks, guys. 123 Rock Fan gives us a super chat. How do you think WB will deal with the Ezra Miller controversy? Can't imagine it'll be good for WB. I won't be surprised if they cut down his screen time.
Do you mean in the Snyder Cut? Because I would think that they would just work with whatever they've got right now. Like, that's a product of a different time. I could be wrong about this. Again, I don't want to predict things from Warner Brothers right now. I apparently really suck at it. I didn't think this would happen, anything like this early. But I don't think the controversy, this is my gut response to that, because I haven't given this any thought. So several weeks ago, there was a whole rigmarole with Ezra Miller apparently punching out a fan somewhere. And choking out. So yeah, choking out a female fan, and I never got a complete understanding of what the situation was with that and why he did that. And
apparently he was at a bar and these girls kept like fangirling on him and kept like bothering him, and he just
lost it
out and said, "What do you want to fight?" and then just choked her. It was so weird.
Okay. Yeah, because just from the minute and a half video we had, it was really hard to get any context from that and tell what even led him to that, what the impetus was. But anyway, I don't think because of that they're gonna cut out a lot of his scenes. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I wouldn't think they would cut out scenes, but the only weird, awkward thing is gonna be they have to bring all the cast back in to shoot voice stuff. That's what the news has been for for the Snyder Cut. They have to bring the actors back.
Wouldn't it be really funny if they got somebody else?
That would be weird.
Wouldn't that just be bizarre? And just somebody else trying to do it, Ezra Miller.
But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But that's a great question. It could be.
It is a good question. Weird. Obviously, I can't answer that. But now, so I guess knowing that now, because I didn't realize that, DJ, I hadn't heard that. If that's the case, they're doing a bunch of ADR, then he could get some scenes cut just because they don't want to deal with him. I guess that could happen. But if they're dealing, or it could be that everybody else is going to come in for ADR, and then some of his scenes will sound kind of awkward because they'll just keep whatever the miking was on set, even if it needed to be redone. That could happen.
Oh yeah, That could be
because there's a question of just how polished this is going to be, and considering that they're not rushing it out right away and they're going to take their time to finish it, I'm going to assume that it's going to be more or less as screen-worthy as this ever would have been. But I guess there's a question about that, DJ. I mean, I don't know how much money they're actually throwing at this. Have they given us a number of like how much?
Yeah, I think they said 20 to 30 million. So okay. A good bit, but not obviously that much in like for a 4-hour movie with a ton of special effects.
Yeah, that's not going to pay for all your special effects. I wouldn't think.
Yeah. I don't know how much they have done. I have no idea.
I think it could be like sure the Daredevil director's cut where they kind of half finished some effects. Like they're good enough to show people, but you wouldn't have put it out on the big screen that way.
Yeah, so 30 million. I mean, that's still a big chunk that Warner is willing to give this thing.
I'll answer this other question from Montale real fast. How does Eric feel about the Snyder Cut? Eric gave me this whole like "I told you so" speech. He was like, "I knew they'd do this."
Oh really? Well,
yeah,
that's weird.
And I didn't remember him saying that, but maybe he did. He was like, no, I knew they'd go ahead and cave and go ahead and do it. So he was not surprised at all, apparently.
Okay. Oh, here's one from next super chat's from Connor Nielsen. Thanks,
Hi,
man.
Connor. And then let's go back to pre-written for a minute, if we can, right after that.
Yeah, sure. He says, thanks to DJ, I now know many Criterion Collection titles will be on HBO Max. Any of those you might get around to with them now streaming?
Oh, I have no idea what movies we're even talking about.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, I know there's some classics on there. Connor, you keep up with the whole Criterion thing. I don't. I have no idea what movies. You always talk about that. I don't know what movies those are. Like classics that I've never talked about before. I'm sure there's some things on there that would be cool to talk about. I have no idea what movies we're talking about. And I have not looked at. Well, there's not a master list as far as DJ and I could find. And I saw a lot of different movie titles here and there. But I'll go through the list when it all comes out and see what they've got there. But.
Yeah, I don't know all the Criterions either. I don't keep up with that as much as I would like to. I have a couple, but I did find a list of all the classic movies that's going to be on there, so I'll post that in the chat if I can. But yeah, just a couple quick ones that I saw as I scam. What's the past tense?
Did you scam it?
I skimmed through it real quick, and I saw
He
Godzilla
scammed HBO Max. That's amazing. How'd you do that?
I want to see the original Godzilla, which I've never seen, which is a Criterion movie. And then there's like a bunch of old movies that are like based on some of my favorite books that I'd like to finally get around to see, like Mice and Men and Lord of the Flies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm gonna look through the list, and I will be definitely a lot more open to watching them since they're so easy to get, because usually Criterion movies are really expensive and hard to get. So that's really cool, Connor.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
excited
great.
about that.
I saw a bunch of stuff on there that I never noticed streaming anywhere, and a lot of things where you had to have streaming services that I just was not going to break down and get. A lot of things that I'm probably not going to have to rent now that I would have otherwise once I finally get that service. So that'll be nice.
Yeah.
There's also, by the way, in case you don't know about it, some talk that eventually, like later this year probably, they'll have a tier like Hulu does where you can pay less to watch with ads. That's apparently coming. I don't know why they're not launching with that, but that's apparently coming.
Nice. So this pre-written is from Christopher Baker. He says, Cap, why is WB not releasing Wonder Woman 84 on HBO Max?
Because that's too expensive of a movie. It's got to go out in the theater. There's no way they would recoup their costs putting that on HBO Max. You'd never spend that much money on a movie that was going to go to streaming in the first place. I don't think there's ever been a blockbuster like that didn't go to the theater that went right to streaming. The closest thing I can think of is Bright, and that's not the amount of money that Wonder Woman 84 cost. Not to mention the fact that they already spent a crazy amount of money on advertising. It's funny, like I've been seeing Wonder Woman 84 on a lot of like products at the grocery store and stuff, and I'm like, this is so awkward. This movie's not even coming out for a while now, and like the grocery stores make it look like it's in theaters, next week or right now.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't even think about that.
How far back did that get pushed? Do we have a date?
I can look it up while you answer this next one. Or we can just look it up real quick on air if you want.
June 5th.
Okay, sweet.
So it is coming up upon us still.
Because that was the weird one where they moved it. They didn't move it far enough, we thought, and we're like, why did they move it so close?
Yeah.
Because they're probably gonna have to move it again. That was.
Hopefully, they're still allowed to show it. Although, I don't really want to deal with like 25% capacity movie theaters. Like I'm not gonna be excited about going to the theater like that. I guess it'll be nice not to have to deal with people sitting right next to you talking the whole time. I guess that would be nice. But I just mean just like getting your ticket if there's too many people all vying to go to the movies and there's not enough seats for everybody. I'm a little bit concerned about dealing with that, but
yeah. Next up from John Ty, if the Sonic movie didn't make its money back, would other movie studios not cave to the fans' complaints?
Well, it's hard to say because we haven't really seen the influence of that yet. I think that and certainly this Snyder Cut announcement are two feathers in the caps of people who want to be more in control of the entertainment that they consume, and there are, of course, positives and negatives to that. I think studios are letting the fans dictate too much what happens in stories right now. I saw some people talking about this earlier in the comments, and somebody asking, I think a couple of people were having kind of a conversation amongst themselves there, and somebody was saying, or maybe they were talking to me, I'm not sure, but somebody was like, are you saying that it's bad for movie companies to give fans what they want? I just think it's more complicated than that. I think it should be case by case, and it all depends on in what way are you doing that. We're talking about a business and we're also talking about art at the same time, and those two things, as I always say, can work in tandem, but often are very much at loggerheads. So you have to give fans what they want to a certain degree, because otherwise they're not going to want to go see your movie and give you money, but you also want to be creative and have an artistic vision and not make a thing just based on committee or based on an algorithm. And when you start to get too close to just making a thing based on an algorithm, I start to wonder what the point is. I don't want to see a movie that's made by all of us. I want to see the vision of artists and that are making things for people that are like-minded. And hopefully I either am like-minded enough to enjoy what they're making, or can be won over on it and have my interest expanded and my mind expanded. That's the experience I want to have when I consume any kind of story-driven art. So yeah, I think the Sonic thing is a good thing and a bad thing. The hope is that you hope you'll learn the right lessons from it. It's just like years ago when Deadpool came out, I was like, I hope the right lessons are learned from this. The lesson should not be rated R, raunchy, super violent superhero movies sell. The lesson should be lesser known things that people don't know about can do great if they're if they're made well, and if they're advertised right, and if they're if they're fun and interesting, and not everything has to be really obvious formula, or it has to be something that everybody's heard of before. So like you hope the right lessons are learned. The right lesson from this, I digress. The right lesson from Sonic should not be try to appeal to the masses, dumb a thing way down, really water it down, put it in the same formula we've done for everything, make it like the Smurfs if it's a cartoon thing that's going to mix with live action. I guess that's not mixed with live action, but you know what I mean. Just like the modern sensibilities of animation with old school things you've heard of that we're trying to modernize. Just make the same thing we've made a billion times, and then if the fans complain before the movie comes out, we can fix it before it comes out. That is not the lesson that should be learned from that. The lesson that should be learned from that is if you're going to make a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, make a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. That's the lesson you learn from that. Not something you've seen 100,000 times. Find somebody who likes Sonic. Look at the fact that was already a really popular franchise in another medium that is sold well, and just hope that there's something there that will appeal to masses. Just make what it is. It worked before. Maybe it'll work this time. Take a risk. See if it works. That's the lesson that should be learned from that.
Oh, please let me clip that out for the channel, because that was great. Rants are back, everyone. And there, he just sneaked one in there. All right, another one from 123 Rock Fan. He says, tuned out. Sounds intriguing. Looney Tunes characters help a depressed man learn the meaning of life, with Christopher Lloyd, produced by Zemeckis.
Christopher Lloyd is in that? I hadn't heard that. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that they were doing new Looney Tunes, but that's as far as I had heard. Wow, I'll watch that right away. Yeah, is that launching? Is that one of the launch things? Because if it is, I'll subscribe for that.
I don't know. It might be one of the ones they're bringing out a little later. I know they don't have too many originals yet.
Because I thought I read that they were doing like newer Looney Tunes cartoons too, but I don't know if I'm right about that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing or not. Let us know, Mr. 123 Rock fan. You don't have to leave another super chat, but
yeah, I mean we can look that up too. But yeah, let's go back to pre-written for a minute.
All right. What are you? What did you? Sorry, there's a lot of stuff we've already talked about.
Oh sure, yeah. If you don't see anything right away, we can jump back to super chats. I just don't want to shaft the pre-written.
Yeah. Here's a quick one from Blue Dragon 5. Did you see Snyder's watch-along commentary he did for BVS a day or so before?
I heard about that, and I'm sure that's kind of interesting. I was not really interested in sitting through that. I don't know. I don't like listening. I don't like listening to filmmakers trying to explain the movie you're watching after it came out. Like, I don't want to watch like a damage control commentary. I don't know if that is that, or if he's like really doubling down, like, no, this is why this is great, you know, like I guess I don't want either, you know what I mean? I guess I don't want to listen to him explain to me why the thing that I thought was incomprehensible nonsense is actually, you know, like it doesn't matter that it is. It's just like really fun to watch dark superheroes, so you should be enjoying this movie. But I also don't want him to like pretend like it's something that it's not retroactively, where it's like, well, this is what I was really trying to do. You know what I mean? Like kind of like I said, the kind of damage control thing. I don't really think I would enjoy either of those two things. I don't know. I don't know if I need to see that. But on the other hand, it would maybe tell me a little bit more about the man, like the, you know, for the sake of the education of it, maybe I should look at that. I don't know. I'm of two minds about it. I wouldn't watch that just to like, you know, just for the fun of it. That would be a kind of, you know, for the sake of the history of superhero movies kind of thing. Would be the only reason I would look at them.
Yeah. Well, that's how he announced. You know, that's how he announced it, right?
Yeah, I had heard that.
He did the Man of Steel one, which I'd be interested in listening to, and then he just announced it at the end.
And don't get me wrong, I liked his commentary for the Watchmen Ultimate Cut. It sounded like he sort of kind of understood the material, and that he just, I guess he didn't turn into a completely shallow guy, but that's what it feels like to be. At one time, I didn't think that he was as shallow as he seems to be. That's just what it sounds like when I'm listening to him. I'm just telling it like I'm seeing it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Lightning City, would you want to see the more somber, character-driven Ayer cut? That first trailer, in my opinion, is really good. Also, last film that made you both cry. I'm guessing is a completely different question, because Suicide did not make us both cry. Mostly because I didn't even see it.
I did cry watching Suicide Squad because I was so upset that they wouldn't tell me why the plane got shut down. It got shut down. It made me cry. No, of course I want to see the Ayer cut. We talked about this a little bit in the 30 seconds I was able to answer the question during the 100th show. I think it's always worthwhile, again, for the sake of the history of all of this stuff, at the very least, to see the movie that was intended before it was compromised by a studio. There's never going to be a situation, even if the thing is dreadful. I said this last week, but I heard people say with Justice League, what if it's worse? Who cares if it's worse? I mean, I want to see it. I want to know what they were trying to make. That's inconsequential to me. You know, this idea that like, well, you know, the joke's going to be on you. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna waste your time and you're gonna watch this even worse movie than the one that you saw before. Yeah, but it's interesting though. Like now that it's retroactive, now that it's 3 years later. If it's the complete train wreck, I think it's likely to be. I want to see that just as much as if it was a much more, you know, sober, thoughtful film. But doesn't mean I'm gonna like it as much, obviously. But like, there are different reasons that you watch movies, and especially that you look at something like this. Like this is as much for education as it is for entertainment for me. So yeah, but I also think that the Ayer cut is likely to be like a movie, like a movie. And that's the difference between the Snyder Cut of Justice League. What we got was not a movie, and what he made was also likely not a movie. Sam.
Yeah, I don't think at the very least, satiating your curiosity is not a waste of time.
No, absolutely not. Now, it might have been a waste of time if it had been the thing that was released in the first place, but now that we got something else, I want to see it, you know?
Yeah.
That makes any sense.
And then the second part was
yeah, when Charlie says at least we'll get more Leto Joker scenes, I would love to know what he thought he was doing in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons to get that. I also think that if this is successful, and I should say when it's successful, because you know this is going to be watched like crazy. Because even everybody that didn't care about the whole release of the Snyder Cut thing, they had that beat into them so much. Everybody's going to be curious about this. I can't imagine anybody that bothered to go to the theater and saw Justice League besides I guess just families that go see every superhero thing, right? But like anybody that's ever read a comic or cared about Batman, especially Batman or Superman as like a thing, when they, you know, ever invested in those characters, went and saw Justice League, I can't imagine any of those people are not going to want to see what it was supposed to be in the first place, or at least as close to that as we can see. So this will be successful, and then I'll be really surprised if they don't consider the Ayer cut, unless for some reason they just can't work with Ayer, or they don't. Yeah. I don't know what else would happen that would prevent that from happening, but.
I don't know if some of it'll definitely be successful, but I don't know, because there's no free trial for this, and if they split it out over 6 months, like they're planning, or 6 weeks or whatever, so you have to sign up for multiple months to keep watching it because they're going to split it up. I don't know if people will stick with it.
Well, that's a good point too. That's a little bit of a risk, and we haven't talked about that aspect of it yet, that they're going to put it out as a mini-series, which I think is a stroke of genius. Because I would much rather watch a Snyder movie like that in chunks, in bite-sized morsels. Absolutely. Give me a little time in between, instead of just inundating me with the chaos all at once. I think BVS is a better movie cut up into 6 parts. People need to go back now and do that with all of Snyder's movies. Just turn them into miniseries, four 6-part miniseries. I think that is brilliant. The place though where they might shoot themselves in the foot, like DJ is suggesting, is there might be people who watch the first and second part, and go, okay, I'm done with this.
All right. TH1, video killed the radio star. What will kill the video star? And second part.
That's great. I love that. Oh, somebody asked us earlier. We didn't finish with the question. What would make you cry? We never, or what made? Excuse me. Last movie that made you cry. What would make you cry? Okay, so
a lot of things, really. I don't really want to.
Yeah, I don't know. Say, like stab me in the foot. I might cry. Yeah.
My whole family dying. I don't know.
Yeah, Picard season 2, almost certainly. But and not in a good way. But, no, the last movie that made me cry was, or at least tear up. People lately have been making more of a distinction between teared up and, like, straight up cried, I've been noticing. I guess it was probably Onward. I can't think of anything post that. And twice. Second time I had it, too.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. The last movie that made me cry for insanely personal reasons that I won't get into is, and it's not, I've seen this movie before, but I just rewatched it this year, and it's Into the Woods, one of my favorite movies, the musical.
Yeah, and that didn't perform super well, and a lot of people don't speak real highly of it, but DJ loves it. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know a lot of people that like it. It got Oscar noms. Anyway, TH1.
Did it really?
Video killed the radio star. What will kill the video star?
The answer to that is holodecks. And I know I'm a broken record on that, but
Blade Runner 2049 Robot Girls.
And even that's great. And even if it, here's the thing. I think print will never fully be dead, and I don't think video will ever fully be dead either. Video killed the radio star only in the sense that we don't need radio in the way we used to. Like, we don't need people don't listen to radio plays like they used to. So you know that kind of obviously hurt that as a mass market thing. But even if you had something like a holodeck, I've said this before, I think people would go into and if you don't know Star Trek, I just mean like something with like holograms that are so real you almost can't tell the difference, of people and places and everything. So as soon as you have that, you can simulate anything, including a movie theater. So people will go into a holodeck to sit down and watch movies. People are always going to want some kind of passive entertainment, I think.
Well, you can already do that on like a. Have you ever messed around with a VR headset? You can sit down in a movie theater.
I know they've got
one of those.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that at some point. But I also know that for a lot of people, they can't really have those headsets on their faces for more than 20 or 30 minutes. So I don't really know what the point is of trying to watch a whole movie like that, because you have to break it up like a mini series, like the Snyder Cut. So the Snyder Cut will be perfect for VR. Is just 20 minutes at a time.
Pop it on. And then the other part of his question.
Well, I say 20 minutes at a time. It's gonna be 4 hours, so it'll be longer than that, won't it? Sorry, go ahead.
If the Snyder Cut does well, this is the second part of TH1's question. What would you like to see get a re-edit? Your channel is wonderful.
Well, thanks a bunch. Just anything that we know was compromised. That you go and see it and you go, oh, there's a bunch of stuff missing. This interaction here doesn't make sense because clearly something was supposed to set it up. The first thing that comes to mind is Power Rangers 2017. That movie is missing massive sections. I still don't know how the Rangers got back to their houses. And they question it. Hey, how'd that happen? And then they never answer that question. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in that movie. So I'd love a finished version of that. Just really anything, and it happens all the time. Anything that's clearly not finished.
Yeah, I'll be predictable and say I still want the perfect cut of Amazing 1.
Yeah.
And I also would love to see, if they would ever let him do it, it'd be amazing if they would let Edward Norton make his cut that he wanted to make of Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Because he had a lot of stuff he wanted. I don't even know if they got to shoot all the stuff he wanted to do, but he was getting really into the creative process on that movie, and he wanted to do a lot of stuff. So that would be my other one.
And then there's movies that you watch and they feel incomplete, and then you find out that they actually never shot those scenes. That happens. Yeah. Like Spawn, where the stuff where they were kind of running out of money and time, and they just hobbled a couple things together. You're like, oh, you never actually like correctly shot the entire third act of this movie.
Well, I think that's what most of them are actually like. I don't think I think the Snyder Cut is like the first one that they actually could do a complete cut because the situation was so weird. I don't know, like
Suicide Squad is also probably that way, yeah.
But most of them, they catch it before they spend, $100 million extra shooting scenes that they're not going to use.
There's a lot of movies like Rises where I'd love to see what the original script was, and Nolan, I think, swore up and down that they shot exactly what was written, but we know for a fact that's not true, at least entirely. And there's at least a couple of things that they changed, and I'm sure more than that. We also know there are deleted scenes from that movie, and they kind of pretended like there weren't. So, I mean, I don't think there's like a whole, crazy extra long cut to put together of that. But like, there are movies like that where, I wish that somehow we could go back in time and make the movie they should have made.
Yeah.
Before too many suits got involved. I don't know if that's the case as much with that movie. I know it was with the things like Batman '89. Where like I wish something closer to that first draft Sam Hamm script could have been shot.
But a lot of these, if we actually did it, it would be like X-Men 1.5 or Spider-Man 2.1. Remember those weird cuts that they were releasing in the early 2000s that were just like 3 minutes back in? Elektra added 3 minutes back into the director's cut.
Yeah, and the reason you don't get that kind of thing as much now is because physical media doesn't sell like it did. So like we're selling 10% of what DVDs sold when the movies that you're talking about came out. And so they'd hit you again. It's sort of like a video game that comes out and then a month later it goes, oh, here's some more material, but you have to buy the entire game in order to get it. And I know usually we just do DLC, but that has happened before. Like with, I think, what was it, Marvel vs. Capcom 3? There's a really slimmed down version of that game that came out at $60, and then like a month or two later they put out the real version with all the stuff that the first version should have had. And I don't think you could download it DLC. I think you had to buy that version. I was like, this is insane. What are you doing? It was like that.
Double dipping.
Yeah.
Oh man. Did you ever watch the Fantastic Four director's cut where they put back in the deleted scenes?
And a couple of them should have stayed in. That whole, because Johnny Storm has more of an arc in that, and the whole thing with him, like almost working with Doctor Doom, and then he changes his mind. All that's really good. It should have stayed in.
Yeah, but they didn't pay attention because they put in like one of the scenes that's exactly another scene in the movie. Like there's a scene where they have.
I remember that. What was it?
There's a scene in the planetarium where they have the date, and then they also shot it like by the dock, by the like water. But they put both in for that version just to get a longer runtime, and it's the same scene, and they say like the same thing.
You have to pick one. Yeah, they
so
were trying different things out and didn't know which one they were going to use. No, that's horrible. I remember there was something that was the same, but I don't remember that scene exactly.
Yeah, it was really weird. And they also switched out the scene where he makes his jaw bigger when he says a stronger man, and he like turns into Wolverine, and it looks really bad.
Yeah.
Logan Dodd. Could this set a bad precedent for future poorly received films?
Yes, potentially. I mean, again, the lesson we should learn from this is, try to put out something closer to an uncompromised version in the first place and hope for the best. But secondly, if you do have all of this extra footage and it was almost a totally different movie, people are gonna want to see it. It's worth putting out and seeing. I guess what would be bad is if I don't know. I'm trying to think of how exactly I want to deliver this sentiment. Like, again, I think the really wrong lesson learned from this is probably going to be we can just kind of fish around until the audience is finally happy with the thing we put out. Like, once it's out, it should count.
Try again.
Yeah, no, it's out though. Like I get director's cuts as kind of an interesting novelty, but I don't want that to be the norm where like everything has multiple versions. I don't like that. Like, I don't like the idea. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is I don't like the idea that the mass audience is now the screening room. We'll put it out and see if everybody's cool with it, and if everybody's not cool with it, then we'll put out another version for those people. This is probably going to happen with Star Wars. There's been a lot of talk that the Star Wars movie or that the Star Wars sequels, especially the last two, are probably going to get different cuts like later on, like well after they've been made. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I've been hearing that rumor lately, and I don't know if it's a rumor or not.
Yeah, I mean, it can always happen. I mean, the Richard Donner cut was like 20 years later, right?
Yeah, no, anything's possible, and that was crazy. Like, nobody expected to ever actually get to see that. But those need to be, I don't want to say exception that proves the rule, but like they need to be few and far between. Those are like really interesting, kind of unusual examples.
Yeah. John Ty.
Extenuating cases, I guess.
Is a compromised vision for entertainment a good thing or bad thing? And if the compromised vision helps it gain more popularity, wouldn't that be a good thing?
Well, I think by the definition I'm using, compromised is always kind of bad. Like, there's a difference between, like, between, like, I don't know. I'm not sure how exactly to put this. This is kind of complicated. There's like a movie that is compromised, and then there's making a compromise. I feel like those are kind of different things. If that makes any sense at all. So, like sometimes a studio head or certain producers or big wigs at a studio actually will have good ideas to make a project better. Their hearts have got to be in the right place in the first place. And again, you've got to marry the art with the business, and that's not always easy to do. And it's complicated because most people either have a really good business acumen or a really good artistic streak in them, but not both. But some people have both. And both of those kinds of people have to come together to make a movie that will make money, but also tell a good story and be, a good piece of art. But the problem is most, like, really big budget things, because there's a lot of risk involved because there's a lot at stake. There's a whole lot of money there. There's investors. I mean, there's a ton of there's a lot of people's jobs. There's a lot at stake. Don't start from an artistic idea in the first place. They don't start from, here's this great idea I had, I bet it'll make money. It starts from, we need money. What's that idea that will make us money, right? So when you're starting from that place in the first place, it's really easy to hire somebody who on paper it makes a lot of sense to make that movie and then get cold feet and worry that they're not going to make the thing that's going to make you money, and suddenly you start making the artistic decisions because their instincts are not business instincts, and that's why that ends up happening. So yeah, the idea that those two things can come together and those people can compromise to make a movie that will do both is a good thing when it happens and does happen. But when I say compromised, I mean here's a movie. Usually, what I mean is here's a movie that was more or less allowed to be made, and then it got changed, and that's almost never good. Almost never. There's exceptions, certainly. But usually that compromise should happen before the shooting starts or as it's going on.
Well, even in those cases where somehow it turns out to be a good
not
movie,
even as it's going on.
Waste money.
I guess sometimes that works, but I'd love like a script that is solid and works and then we shoot it. You know what I mean? But I'm sorry, what were you saying, DJ?
I'm just saying, even in the unusual case where it turns out to be a good movie, it's still bad that you wasted money like reshooting stuff and changing stuff. So I think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's a good movie. This next one, he could mean so many different things by this question. I don't exactly know what he means, but he says, Gengar Venom, do you think we could get an animated Justice League 2? But he uses the number 2. I don't know if he means 2 as in also. Like
no. I think he means a sequel to the Snyder Cut. That's what I'm going to assume he's saying is that as an animated movie.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say there's anything under the sun with Warner Brothers won't do now, because this is happening, and I said forever it wouldn't. I said 3 weeks ago it wouldn't happen, and it's happening. So, or at least that it wouldn't happen this early. It's happening.
Animated Justice League, an animated superhero movie as a sequel to. Have we ever had that?
Nothing leaps to mind. I mean, there's stuff that get kind of close where, like, you've got that animated Constantine movie that feels like it could be connected to that TV show, but isn't really, but it could be. You know, things like that. Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
There's been a lot of talk that if this is, or a lot of people questioning, like, you know, I'm surprised we haven't gotten this question yet. If this is popular, could they come back and continue the DCEU like nothing happened? Like, could they just go ahead and make a sequel to this, and could they bring Snyder back and all of that? I think that is remote, but I'm not going to say no for sure, because watch me be wrong. Watch it end up happening. That's going to depend more on critical reception than how well it's watched, I would think. Although that didn't really stop Warner's from letting Snyder take the reins even more than he did with Man of Steel and make exactly what he wanted to for BVS, even after, like, Man of Steel was polarizing, like, all the way down the middle. 50% of people liked that movie and 50% didn't, it seemed like. And then they went, oh, okay, your movie didn't make as much money as we thought it would, and it's polarizing. Do whatever you want to this time. So I don't know. I guess anything is possible. It would be a lot cheaper, of course, to just do an animated thing and put it out on video or put it out on HBO Max. I could see continuing the whole line in that way with some of those actors coming back to voice if they wanted to, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not going to immediately say surely that's what they're going to do, but I don't think that's an impossible notion either.
Yeah, that's a crazy question. TH1, with Disney Plus and now HBO Max having, if not their entire library, the majority, how much closer are we to buying physical being obsolete? Your channel rocks.
Oh, thanks a bunch. I mean, we feel closer than we ever did. Like I said, I read a statistic a while back. I wish I had the link for you, because I keep quoting this and I'm not citing my source. I'll try to find it at some point and post it somewhere. But I read again, hopefully this is actually true, but what I read was that only about 10% of DVD sales are happening from where they were in like the early 2000s, and that DVD is selling better than Blu-ray. There's just not money in it anymore. It's put out as a novelty now. The entire like physical movie industry is a novelty now, like records were when CDs came out. Just imagine, especially through the 90s. Like, that's where we're at now. And so I don't want to say that we're anywhere close to it being completely obsolete, but we're getting to a place where a lot of companies are going to have to decide whether or not it's really viable for them to even bother with print, or with like factory discs. Having said that, the closer we get to watching stuff is ubiquitous with streaming it, the closer we get to that. And with something like HBO Max, sorry about that sound, that's the plumbing right above me. That's the one thing that kind of sucks about this room. Oh, come on, stop it. With something like HBO Max, you're getting closer to everything that's ever existed being on some streaming platform. Now, I know that that's not still really the case, but like, there's stuff Star Zones that exclusively only they're able to put out, and like they have most of the stuff they own streaming, and then Disney has most of their library now, and now Warner suddenly has most of their library up. So we're gonna get to a point where if you have all these streaming services, you can get your hands on pretty much everything. Not everything, but a lot more than you could even a couple of years ago. And that's gonna give people even less incentive. I mean, I know I'm a kind of a culprit for this, DJ. There's stuff that I have on disc that I am too lazy to go pull out on disc because I know it's streaming somewhere, so I just turn it on streaming. And I know a lot of people do that, like even if you do own it. So the only real incentive to buy is to say you own it, or because you collect, or because the packaging looks cool or something. If you didn't, and at this point, if you didn't grow up buying that stuff, I don't know that it would even occur to you to own stuff, because the definition of ownership when we're talking about media and entertainment is changing.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's definitely taken, like, I always buy the collections. I'm a huge collector, especially Blu-rays, and like even this year it's taken a huge toll already. Like the DC was releasing the special big digibook like lenticular covers for all of them. They didn't do that for what's it called?
Say it again.
Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
They didn't do that for Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
And then even Onward, Disney has been releasing these specific ones with like, they're like thicker and they have a nice slipcover, and the Onward one doesn't have the slipcover. It looks like they just didn't want to print those and they just wanted to do a little cheaper. Like there's just
not as much of a market for it. I mean, it's basic supply and demand, but and yet there's the question of whether it should be, right? I mean, this could be a topic all by itself, so I'm going to try not to belabor this for too much longer, because we're already at an hour. Where are we at super chat wise? I don't know if we can even get away with ending very close to now.
We have 6 left.
Okay. Are you okay, DJ, running for another hour, or do you want to try to wrap up pretty quick? Because it just looks like there's a lot of questions still.
I'm okay for hanging around.
Okay, cool. We'll I'm not going to promise we hold out for an entire hour, but I'm not going to shut down right away either, because we still have a lot of super chats, and we've got a bigger audience tonight than usual. So, okay, thanks so much for everybody for being here. I hope you're enjoying the show. But anyway, so what I want to say about that is there's supply and demand. There's the question of whether or not that should be the case, DJ, because the joke's going to be on everybody that doesn't own physical copies of stuff when the streaming service stops being viable, where they always watch that thing they love and it goes away, and now they can't get their hands on it. Like we don't seem to care about owning media anymore because we expect it to be somewhere where you can watch it. And this has been the case for some video games that only release digitally. There will be some movies where you're gonna have to watch it illegally at some point if you want to get your hands on it. Like, because everything is digital now, and we archive as well as we do, people assume that everything is archived and that you'll be able to get access to it, and everything might be archived, but you won't necessarily be able to get access to it. A lot of the time it's because of rights issues. It's because a company that owns it now versus the company that used to own it, or companies that own different pieces of different things that make it impossible to put it out the way it was originally. For instance, like movies that have, like a company that has rights to a movie, but not to all the licensed music in the movie. So if they're going to put that movie out again, they have to change the music. And now it's not the experience you had the first time around. And there's a lot of examples of this. The first thing that comes to mind for me is, this isn't a movie, but is the CW Birds of Prey show. They couldn't even use the intro music for that show when they put it on DVD. So anybody that buys that show now or watches it on DC Universe or whatever is getting the wrong theme song. And there's all these people that have gone back and watched that show now that didn't see it when it aired that are having a different experience, and in my mind a lesser experience, because I like that theme song a lot, because that theme song's not there. And so, you know, I own the disc so I can pull it out and watch it the way it was. I want to be able to do that. So,
you also got to worry about some movie. They're making edits to movies now. Disney especially is making edits to some of their movies, and you won't have the originals. Not that I mean, they haven't done anything major yet, but the possibility's there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a worry. Anyway, okay, let's get back to the topic at hand, shall we?
All right. Well, let's start a new topic at hand.
Oh, well, let's do that. Sure.
From Gigi. I'm just gonna call him Gigi. His name is GJJIJJI. Cap. You should watch the next Legends episode. It's going to have a parody of Star Trek, and it would be hilarious to see your reaction.
Has it already aired?
Or I don't know. He said you should watch the next Legends episode.
Like, it hasn't come out yet? I just love that you're making the assumption that that's going to be. When you say hilarious, do you mean like legitimately, like it'll be great, or like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this? Yeah, I don't wanna.
No, he said it'll be hilarious to see your reaction.
Oh, to see my. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll think about it. I'll write that down. I'm gonna put a big question mark next to it. No, I'll.
He's not a regular super chatter. He put that in just
okay.
For you,
Thanks for letting me know. Legends Trek parody.
That's amazing.
Question mark. Okay, I might take a look at that. All right.
He
says I'm a CW hater. Well, I call it like I see it. Their stuff's not good anymore.
Yeah, well, you didn't even have to ask this question, Mr. Roboto. You know this answer.
Yeah.
He says, will you review the Snyder Cut?
Of course I will. I'm gonna have to.
Of course, we're gonna talk about.
That'll be the day that launches for the next like 16 years. That'll be the only question I get. I mean, release the review of the Snyder Cut will be the hashtag on Geekvolution. Like, no, I have to do that, and I'm gonna have to do it shortly after it comes out. And of course, well down the road, I'm sure there will be a rewind on it. But yeah, I mean, I'll have to do something off the cuff when it comes out. We'll do a spoiler cast, or we'll do a spoiler cast on the Captain Logan show. We'll do a panel, or I mean a panel. I'll bring in anybody that wants to come in, but like it'll be at least me and DJ probably, unless DJ doesn't watch it, and then I'll just do it myself. I don't know.
No, I'm already signed up. I signed up this day, so
this day, yeah.
We'll see if I'm still signed up in a year.
Oh yeah, because you just said you didn't watch Suicide Squad, but obviously you saw BVS, and we just did Justice League a couple weeks ago. I was like, no, you have to do Justice League with me. We just did a commentary on it.
Yeah, it'll be our the Snyder cut of our commentary. We'll have to do a remake.
Alex says I should just troll everyone and not review it. Do you sometimes feel like, and maybe this is just me, do you sometimes feel like some people that are so obsessed with the notion of getting this have almost forgot it's like what the movie is? You know, like we just keep saying Snyder Cut all the time, exactly. And after a while it's like, is it? Wait, oh, that's right, it was a Justice League movie.
I've totally had that. Like I was confused. Like I was confusing it with like BVS for a minute. Like the way the Snyder Cut has been thrown around so much that I've completely forgot. I don't even associate it with this movie.
It's because everybody is so ambivalent or dislikes Justice League, and nobody saw it, like we talked about when we did the commentary, that you kind of forget that movie came out. But there's this other thing that Snyder made, it's almost like, Snyder's DC swan song, I want to see that movie. It doesn't matter that it's Justice League.
Yeah.
You know, it's for a lot of people, it seems like it's almost just the principle of the thing, where it's like, look, I don't know what you guys were talking about. BVS was great, and then they put out. And then they put out this crappy Justice League movie and said he directed it, but clearly he didn't direct it. So, you know, I don't even care that it's Justice League. I just want the other thing he made. Like, that's what it feels like.
What if they Dark Knight Rises this thing, and they market this as the end of
the Snyder trilogy? I mean, it is. It technically is, I guess. Technically. Yeah. I mean, I want to say that's not a true trilogy, but I don't know what exactly his movie is going to look like. And again, I said this last week, but everybody's saying that it's not going to be that different. I think you will find yourself sorely mistaken. I really do. I don't think there's any chance that
it does bring back all the Kryptonian ship stuff, like Rises brought back a bunch of Batman Begins stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah,
weird
exactly.
Parallels.
And I'm sure Lois will be the key. Anyway, so what else?
The other part of Mr. Roboto's question, I would like to give you as a riddle. See if you can figure it out.
What?
He says,
riddle me this.
Second, HBO Max number 4, DC, no.
I need to go actually find that super chat and look at the words.
Different reads of it and see if I can make up some.
Will you,
HBO Max
Mr. Roboto? No. I know you're trying to keep your super chat number down, but I mean, you know, if I can't read it, I can't answer it, man. Will you review the Snyder Cut? Yes. Second, HBO Max for DC? No. Second. Do you just mean second question or
second,
HBO Max
4?
Okay.
For DC. No?
This is going to be my interpretation of the question, but I could be completely way off base. Maybe he's asking if it's going to replace DC Universe. Maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know. So people have been asking me about that, so I'll answer that question. And then if you have a different question that's not that, try to use words instead of numbers, and then we'll see if we can answer it. And don't feel the need to put it in another super chat. DJ will look for it. We'll answer it. Just elaborate as a regular question. But I like to be able to answer your question without feeling like I'm going to a gas station with you know numbers in the title. So
BCRU are what words? Numbers, not letters. What is that?
That's great.
Unless you're Prince.
Unless you're It's numbers. Unless you're what was it? Oh man, this is like an age of a kid. Unless you're 7 or your name is Prince. That's what it is. Yeah. That's word crimes from Weird Al. Yeah. Anyway, I almost asked you what the question was. We don't know what the question is. No.
Heck if I know.
I am gonna be really bewildered if DC Universe sits the way it is right now for another month. Even I would have thought that day and date with HBO Max, they would have rebranded it or like made some kind of announcement that it's gonna be, and maybe they will tomorrow, just suddenly come out and make an announcement about it. But they've been saying that DC Universe is gonna stick around, you know, kind of the way it is. They clearly have not had any support for that hardly, besides some of the, you know, like live fan stuff they do, or not live, maybe they do some live stuff, I don't know, but like, you know, the fan videos they make and stuff. But they're not planning on putting any new content out on that. Some of the new content they have, they're porting over to HBO Max, and it's sounding like that's going to be the only place where it is, but I can't be sure about that. I talked about that earlier. And then other shows that are currently on DC Universe, I mean, clearly they didn't do the numbers that they were hoping they would do with that. It was such a niche idea. I was pretty sure that wouldn't work out. I was kind of surprised that it lasted as long as it has. But like other shows that they've made, like Stargirl and like Swamp Thing, are supposed to go over to CW apparently. So if it sticks around, I think it's just going to be mostly as the comic service, and that might be wishful thinking on my part because I really rely on that. Like I like their comic service and I use it a lot. So I'm hoping that sticks around. I think they need that to compete with Marvel's because they didn't have one before. And it's also cheaper by $2 than Marvel's, and Marvel's is only comics, and they have some streaming. So like, they should keep it around, but I don't think they're gonna put out as much, any new programming on it. And yet, isn't it weird that Harley Quinn has not been announced to go over to HBO Max? I haven't heard that yet. So, and that's been pretty popular for them.
Yeah, and that's one of the only shows that's continuing to go strong.
Yeah. So I have no idea what they're thinking with that whole thing. Again, Warner Brothers is just counterintuitive. I can't begin to predict them. They don't make any sense at all. And yet, in some ways, it seems like they keep failing upward. Like, this whole HBO Max idea is so weird. Like, I get it to some degree because of the way the merger happened with AT&T. Like, I read some about that today, and it all sounds really sticky and confusing. And so I'm understanding why it has to go through HBO and why it has to, kind of supplant or be partnered up with the services they have already. But man, I wouldn't have branded it HBO. And I read this really good article. I don't have my phone with me. I sent it to you, DJ. I wanted to cite.
I'll post it in the chat.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah.
It is from The Ringer.
I read it.
It's a really good article that breaks a lot of this down. It's really well researched, really comprehensive. And he says the same thing I've been saying for months, except he did his homework, which is that the branding is really weird. Why would you call it HBO? Why would you have HBO in the name of it when it has so much of everything Warner's owns? Like, it's a catch-all service trying to, go up against Disney. I mean, it's already weird that Disney has things like The Simpsons, stuff that doesn't remind you at all of Disney. You don't think The Simpsons and think Disney. But now that they have Fox, their strategy seems to be try to make all of Fox's stuff ubiquitous with Disney now. HBO's kind of a horse of a different color. Like, they've built this reputation for making kind of sophisticated, more adult material, and then they bought Sesame Street. But beyond that, they've mostly been that, and now they're going to water that down with everything under the sun. And he suggests in this article, this Ringer article. I'm sorry, it's a lady who wrote this, Allison Herman. I don't know why I assumed it was a man that wrote this, but anyway, Allison Herman. She suggests that maybe it's a man named Allison, but it's probably not. She suggests that it's that it could be a mistake if this fails. That now they've kind of watered down their brand, and they've changed. They might end up changing their the way their reputation, the way everybody looks at them as a network, and so HBO won't necessarily immediately scream quality like it has, and I think she's spot on about that.
I think it might hurt HBO, but I think it's gonna help Warner. Honestly, like, I don't know. Like,
she also suggested
Media,
that
but
too.
Who in the world knows Warner Media? Like,
yeah, she
normal
said
people
that.
Have no idea what that is.
She said Warner's doesn't have the kind of reputation that Disney has. When you say Warner's, people don't get something in their head, and except for maybe like old cartoons.
WB, yeah, maybe.
That's about it.
Like Warner Brothers cartoons.
And you got to be my age before you get that. Kids don't. I
feel for AT&T because it's such a weird, disparate. Like, I don't know how you make. I don't even know if they could make a cohesive brand out of what they had, unless they just started from scratch and made something, because they have so many weird things all collected together. Solar
Dragon says, well, HBO's biggest show ever, Game of Thrones, went down in flames in its last season. That's true. That also hurt their reputation to some degree. But I think they've had enough hits over the years that I don't think that by itself will completely destroy their street cred. That seemed like a extenuating sort of circumstance where they hired people to sort of like with some Snyder stuff, right? They hired some people to adapt some stuff, and then they ran out of material, and then they had to finish it, and they didn't seem to know what they were doing. That's what I've heard. I've never watched that show, but the folks that I know that watch it, that's what they've said. And it reminds me of other situations like the whole Snyder situation. But Watchmen was pretty well received. Everybody loves The Leftovers, and then they still have a lot of their cred from going way back to the 2000s and the 90s. I guess
Detective, all those shows.
I guess what I mean is there's what I said about quality, but then there's also just the kinds of things you expect to see on HBO. And somebody said, well, yes, they when you think HBO, you think adult stuff, and that's kind of my point. Is that's not going to be the case anymore. DC Universe was more consistent in its branding. It went. I mean, it's weird. This is even more niche. It went. We are a rated R superhero network. That's what they said. We're gonna stream some older stuff that's not that, but our new stuff, we're not for kids, and your kids should not look at this. And they immediately put out like the most rough and tumble bloody thing they could think of with Titans, like really fast. So they came out right out ahead of it and went, we're not for children. And HBO Max can't do that because it's got to be everything Warner. So you're right, like. HBO at least is something more people have heard of, but you immediately think of something when you think of that, and then when you go to this, that's not what it's going to look like. She even suggests, the lady who wrote this article, that it's really surreal looking at the HBO logo right next to a purple background.
It's like, weird.
It's really weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I hope it works for them, but they were kind of between a rock and a hard place. I don't know what they could have done to salvage all that.
Yeah, Jay Asher, I have never seen Game of Thrones, and because I'm just not a big fantasy guy, so I never really bothered with it. And I didn't have HBO. I've only subscribed to that whenever I had to review something. So I was subscribed to it for a little while when we did Watchmen, but I didn't watch much else while I had that. And now I don't really see any point in doing it because 100% of people I've talked to say it crashes and burns at the end, and I don't see the point of investing my time in that, even if it's great at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get HBO until Watchmen 2. I just kept it around because we've been watching some stuff. I'm watching his Dark Materials, like I've told you before. I got one episode.
When I get HBO Max, I might start watching that. I am curious about it, mostly because of cast, if nothing else.
Yeah, I don't know if I recommend it. Maybe. I can't tell. I'll let you know how this last episode turns out. Mr. Rovato. Okay. Since Watchmen is DC now about HBO, I prefer epics.
What? Sorry, what was the question? Was this Mr. Roboto again?
Yeah, he had two in a row, man. Sorry.
Okay.
Since Watchmen is DC now about HBO?
Is DC
and then he
now
says, "I
about
prefer
HBO.
epics with an X."
Okay. Yeah. I
think is a streaming service.
I only looked at it is because that's what had Pennyworth, and I looked at that to watch the first couple episodes of Pennyworth and review it, and then dropped it immediately. And Pennyworth was just season 6 of Gotham, but set in the past. I mean, it was made by the same creators, and it was exactly that tone. It was a little bit better than Gotham, but who knows if it stays that way. But anyway, I digress. I don't understand that question. I'm sorry.
So since Watchmen is DC now about HBO, he could be talking about the show Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
It will be on HBO Max, definitely.
Yeah, it will be on HBO Max. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have everything HBO has. I'm sorry, I need coherent questions that I can answer pretty directly. So yeah, let us know what you meant by that, if you would. I will go ahead and move on. Go ahead, DJ.
Okay. Starkiller 2099. You think we'll ever get a director's cut of Batman Forever? I know there are subplots cut out that are essential to Bruce's story.
I know that there are a couple of major scenes, and they're deleted and on the DVD, and you can look at them. I don't know if there was anything else shot that we didn't get in that movie, though. I don't know that for sure. I've never heard subplots beyond just the big thing in a flashback that they didn't give us, and the whole thing about Thomas Wayne's book. The whole idea with that is that, spoiler alert for a movie that was not totally finished, and I talked about this in the Rewind years ago, but Bruce blames himself. It's kind of a Batman Begins thing for his parents' death. Because I can't remember if it was the whole I wanted to go to a movie that night, but they didn't, but they went ahead and went anyway, and that's why they're dead now. I think it's that whole thing. But something about Bruce Wayne as a kid, whining that night, got them to go out, and that's why they died. And in that version, he suppresses it for all those years, and he doesn't even remember that happened. So Batman's supposed to be a manifestation of his guilt, but he intellectually and consciously doesn't even realize that he's guilt-ridden, which I think is a fascinating take on that, and is really, really sad that didn't make that movie. Because it's weird too, because in the theatrical version, he's like, there was a red book, and then I ran out with the book. I'm like, what's the point of this book? It turns out there was one, but I don't know if there's anything else beyond that. I've never heard of other subplots. So it would be nice to have a cut that put that back in, but it would be 35 seconds longer.
Wasn't the Man-Bat in that dream as well? Mm-hmm. The big, crazy Man-Bat thing? So
yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, which is cool looking. Yeah. But I wouldn't call that a subplot. I would call it the payoff for a whole motivation for a character given to us in flashbacks that they never paid off. I don't know why they cut that out. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's where all roads are leading. And it's not like they cut out anything else from that movie or left in anything that contradicts it. I mean, it's like I said, 35, 40 seconds. You put it back in and now the movie works. I think there's a lot of people who don't like that movie that just with that put back in would appreciate it more. I really do.
It's so weird. That's weirder than Daredevil director's cut.
It is.
We have John Ty. Does the ideals of capitalism ruins the quality of storytelling?
No, I wouldn't say that. Again, there have been a lot of wonderful stories told that wouldn't have been if it weren't for profit motive. I don't think that's necessarily a bad incentive, necessarily, for a real artist to get his work out there. It is difficult to motivate yourself to just write something for yourself. Very often we need some kind of external stimulus to get us to do the job in the first place, and that's, of course, putting food on your family's table is a good motivator. But when it's the only thing and you don't start with an idea and you're just trying to dupe people into thinking you're telling a story so that you can trick them into giving you their money, that's when it's bad. So you need, if you're gonna have commercially driven entertainment, you have to have both. You have to have a spark of an idea. I don't mean to keep repeating myself. I guess I said this earlier, but you need a spark of an idea and a real story you want to tell. Or with whatever art we're talking about, it's not always about a message. I never think that you should start with theme when you write something. But you've got an idea, or you have a story you want to tell, or there is a fictional character inside of you that's like bursting to get out, and you just have to get that on the page. But you also would like to make a little bit of money with it. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think those two things can work, and very often do work in tandem. They also very often don't work in tandem, and it's true with every kind of art.
Great answer. Nice job. And then we have another one from John Ty right after. Is the DC Universe app only for reading digital comic books now since the announcement of HBO Max? That's what he was talking about earlier. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know. I think that would be the smartest thing for them to do, and maybe leave some old stuff there. Like, if HBO Max doesn't have DC cartoons, I think you could make that service all about TV shows and comics. And maybe just take all the movies off of it and move those over to Max, because most of that's going to go there anyway. Or you could make it all about animation. And wouldn't it make sense to have a streaming service that was animation and comics, because it's all drawn. It's all about the two-dimensional picture. I think that's a really good idea. And then give us more of it, because they haven't added anything to that service in like a year, but they've taken stuff off of it. Get your entire DC animated line up there if there's not going to go to Max. Why the heck not, if you hang on to that streaming service?
All right, TH1. Could this spin-off an extended cut continuity?
We talked about that earlier. I think anything is possible. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because I can't predict Warner Brothers. I kind of hope not, personally. Just because I don't want to review any more of this, what has mostly been nonsense. Under the kind of Snyder vision. But if it's, money talks, man. If it's really popular, the big question ends up being, is Warner's gonna be? I don't know if anybody can be smart enough. Honestly, what I was gonna say is, will Warner's be smart enough, or HBO. Because when I say Warner's, apparently no one knows what I'm talking about. HBO is what we mean now when we say Warner's. DJ, are they going to be smart enough to tell the difference between... A lot of people watched this because they wanted to see what Snyder's version was, for whatever reason, just to laugh at it, just for their own, you know, edification, like, or are they going to assume that all those people watched it and loved it? Like, will they be able to tell the difference? Because that's, and again, I'm not sure if you can, unless they look really closely at the criticism of it. Like,
yeah, I think it would be really way that you can tell people's intentions when they're watching. I think
it would be so easy, especially with this, right? Like, I think it would be so easy for them to go, "Oh, people want more of this." You know, not necessarily. That could be like one of the most watched things of all time, but making sequels to it wouldn't sell. That is entirely likely.
Yeah. That's crazy. What would be the craziest thing of all is if the first Justice League had been successful and that continuity actually kept going, and then we got this movie and then it sprouted off a different continuity and we had two different continuities
with some of the same actors but that contradict each other. Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. And at the very least, that's what I would want. I certainly wouldn't want this to come back and supplant what we're doing now, whatever it is we're doing now. I can't completely define that either. Connor says, I'm betting it now they'll call this Justice League Ultimate Edition. I mean, they've already given us a logo that says the Snyder Cut. I think that's going to be the official title of it. With all that...
It says Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, that's what it says. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, but it's got to have his name in it, right? Because the whole, at least the Snyder Cut thing got so overwhelming, and everybody has heard that now, even if they don't know what it means. Even if they don't know we're talking about a Justice League movie, DJ.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll just go Ultimate Edition. I don't know if that would pique people's interest enough.
I would be surprised if they didn't just call it what they've already shown us from that teaser picture, or just the announcement, right? Like, but maybe you're right. Maybe they will call it something else. I mean, I think I know BVS was Ultimate. Was Suicide Squad also called the Ultimate Edition, or was it called something else? I can't remember. Or was it just extended? Maybe that was just the extended cut. I forget.
Yeah, I think so. Did they even release one of those?
Oh yeah, Eric Wright, Justice League Martha Edition. That's why that somebody made that. That's why somebody made that joke last week of and then somebody claimed that it was my joke, and I forgot that I made it. But I don't think that's true. But I don't know. But somebody last week, yeah, I say a lot of things. Somebody last week goes, see, this is why they call it the extended universe. And it's like all of their movies, except for that Snyder made, except for Man of Steel, will now have an extended cut.
Watchmen Ultimate Edition. They didn't call it that, did they?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Wow. There you go. See.
Yep. It starts there.
It's the end of Snyder's epic Ultimate Edition trilogy.
But the difference with now I want it to be called that. 12 hours of pretentiousness. No, I say that. I like Watchmen, of course. The difference with the Watchmen Ultimate Edition is that felt planned. That felt intentional. It felt like for the theatrical version, they dropped it down to the bare minimum of what they thought they could put out, and it would be coherent enough, but not be so long people wouldn't sit in the theater and watch it. And it was still close to 3 hours, I think, or 2.5, and they were right. I mean, a lot of people didn't go see that movie. Like, it did okay. I think it broke even or did a little bit better than that. Like, they could not... Snyder was trying so hard to get as much of that book on film as he could. He made a thing that was not really all that sellable. And then DC gave him the keys to the superhero kingdom. I don't understand. But, like, I love Watchmen, and I still say it remains the unfilmable graphic novel. I mean, maybe I wouldn't say that as much if you had made it a miniseries, like they're gonna ironically do with the Snyder Cut of Justice League. By the way, Justice League is what we're talking about, in case anybody is confused as to the property that the Snyder Cut is.
It was called the Ultimate Cut. That's what I was confused about. Watchmen the Ultimate Cut.
Ultimate Cut.
So then Ultimate Edition for BBS. So this has to be the Ultimate something else.
Oh, okay.
The Ultimate
Ultimate miniseries. Yeah, train wreck. I don't know.
Ultimate train wreck.
Oh, Mr. Roboto, you don't have to apologize, man. I just feel bad that I was having a difficult time answering your question because I didn't know what your question was. Did he ever elaborate on either of those?
In a super chat, which he didn't have to do.
You didn't have to do that, man. Yeah, we said we'd find it for you. Go ahead.
Really appreciate it. He gave us. I'll skip down to that one. I didn't forget the other ones, but I'm just gonna do this one.
Eric, right? Justice League Noir edition. Get it? Cause it's dark. Good
Justice
one.
League Dark. Hey, there's still that Justice League Dark movie that J.J. Abrams is working on for HBO Max. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's supposed to be a Green Lantern show that somebody's making. Is that also an Abrams thing or no? Who's making that? Somebody's making that. I forget.
That was a comic book guy. I can't remember.
Is it Jeff Johns? Is he making that?
It is Greg Berlanti.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's producing it.
Well, yeah, he's producing it, but I thought there was a showrunner that was like, or somebody actually comic book like running. Yeah. Great. It's another Berlanti thing. Fantastic.
I forgot I actually wrote down stuff to talk about tonight.
I watched the pilot for Stargirl. It didn't really make much of an impression on me. I'm still not sure if I'm going to review it. It's okay. It's got potential, I guess. I don't know if that actress is going to be able to carry that show by herself. But I thought, that comedic actor, I forget his name. But the main guy in that that is the Stripey, that's the old sidekick of Starman, that ends up having to kind of pass the mantle down somewhat accidentally to her. He's great. He's fantastic in that. He's really carrying that show. But it's weird. It's like CW meets Doom Patrol. I mean, it's weird, like a CW high school show. It's like Smallville meets Doom Patrol. The tone of that is fascinating. I don't even want to say that it's like tonally uneven yet. It's like they're trying to marry those two things, and it's somewhat unsettling. I think maybe purposefully. It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it yet. It's hard to talk about on one episode with that particular show, but...
Yeah. Well, the
Max Studios. Okay, hear me out. Justice League. One more cut. See, the problem with that is not as many people are gonna want to watch that if you have if you don't have the name Snyder in it, but you do have Justice League. Because I'm telling you, people don't know we're talking about Justice League. If you just called it Snyder and if you just called it Snyder and you had Superman's head next to it, everybody knows what that is.
Okay, so back to Mr. Roboto. He clarifies his question. He says, Watchmen on HBO did not fail, so is this DC new home in your view?
Well, so, I mean, only sort of, right? Like, they're gonna, and very clearly they're trying to put, their more adult-oriented stuff there. They want to try to get people that weren't gonna subscribe to DC Universe to look at that. I guess a couple of years back, and it's only been a couple of years. Everything's moving in internet time, DJ. It's like only a couple of years back, some companies' strategies were, let's have a bunch of small, cheap streaming services, and then people will just subscribe to what they want. And then they started hearing, and then Disney Plus happens, and they start hearing people complain about the sheer number of streaming services they have to have. And now it's like, oh man, we better put everything in one place. Which seems pretty obvious that's what you want to do. Like, people used to get angry that Netflix didn't have whatever movie they were looking for. As if at some point Netflix had put out a press release that said, we will eventually have every movie ever made. Yeah, they never did that. Even when they were kind of the only game in town, or one of the only games in town, and they had contracts with a whole bunch of different companies, and they could put a lot more stuff than they have now, it never, to me, felt like they were ever going to try to get anywhere close to 100% of film. And people still have this idea. The whole Netflix and chill thing suggests I can turn on the Netflix and pull up anything. And then I'll hear people complain like, oh my god, it's not on Netflix. Yeah, you know why? Because different companies own different things. You guys are dumb. Sorry.
Well, I could see why people back in the day would think that, because Netflix was synonymous with streaming at that time. It was just like, it's either on streaming or it's not on streaming.
Yes, and you saw from the sheer number of things they didn't have access to, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, I have that streaming app where you can look up something and see what it's playing on or what services it's on, and there's like 500 streaming services. I can't even look at all of them. It's ridiculous. So many streaming services.
Oh, something else that's gonna, maybe this is just me. I don't know if anybody else here is gonna have this problem, but apparently the only company they couldn't make a deal with was Amazon. Anybody surprised by that? And so the app may not be on Fire Stick for a long time. So that's great, because that's what I use.
That's what I use.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to be able to look at HBO Max on the Fire Stick.
We have PS4s. We'll be fine.
Okay, but I never stream anything through that.
Yeah, I do in here.
And it's not,
because we don't have.
I mean, first world problems, but it's not connected to either of my projectors, DJ. So I'm gonna have to like move it to a projector. Anyway.
All right, so yeah, so I guess he was just asking if that would be the Watchmen show's new home. Would it be on HBO Max? Yes, because everything. I don't know if we ever answered this question. We kind of got off on a tangent there.
No, we did. I mean, like, yeah, it's good. I mean, as far as new home goes, it's like, well, no, CW already has like a whole bunch of DC superhero shows. But for the more adult-oriented stuff, yeah, because they realized that not enough people care about superheroes as a concept to get a whole streaming service about them.
Yeah. David Crabtree left us a little super chat. Just said, with yesterday being Memorial Day, I hope everyone had a chance to remember and honor all the real-life superheroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. So getting ultimate in there. I think that was before the ultimate talk, but that was a funny coincidence. But yeah.
All right, thanks, David. What else we got?
Mr. Roboto popped in before he left the clarification. This was a while ago. Why can't Marvel/DC both go bright or light sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, we just need more variety, man. It's because they're looking for the magic bullet, and it's what I always say. It's because we just jump on trends and we go, oh, okay, what's really in right now is like dark and edgy, and people want to escape into entertainment by watching the most horrific possible things happen to people, and watch people be mean to each other and never get along, because that's what real life is like. So we've gotten really cynical about it. What's even worse is that we keep trying things where that seemed to be the trend 10 years ago, but has started to turn around some. And there are a lot of executives that didn't get the memo because they don't. I swear to God, the last 10 years have gone by in what feels like 2, and you got a lot of people who were 50 then and 60 now, but still think the world is the same as it was in 2010, or even in 2000, or in some cases 1983.
Yeah, I will say, I'll throw out Shazam. That was a fun, light movie that was not like anything else DC was making, but still actually kind of horrifying.
No, that's true.
Demons like biting people's heads off.
Mutali says
that one scene.
Mutali says, I want Cap to be mean to people for a change. Well, watch After Dark.
Yeah, Brandon, we just emotionally berate Brandon for an hour. It's great.
I don't do it on purpose. It just comes naturally.
Tune in this Thursday.
Yeah, that'll probably happen.
I'm
sorry, Brandon. I really am. He thinks it's funny.
If you're watching.
Yeah.
T-Edge 1, I wonder if it'll have Ozzy and Drix. Have you seen it?
No, I don't know what that is.
Is it just people trying to confuse us tonight?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ozzy and Drix. I guess that's a movie or a show. Have not heard of it. So it might not.
Could even be two different things, but it's probably just one thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, we used an ampersand, so I don't know. Okay. I guess he could just.
No,
that doesn't mean anything.
That has been tonight, where I just it's been like doing a crossword puzzle, really.
Playing Scrabble up here. Bag Studios gives us another one.
Oh, hi, Bag.
A bit strange. No director's cut of Man of Steel. One of Snyder's only non-director's cut, I'm guessing.
Well, that movie doesn't feel like it's missing a lot, right? Like, that feels more or less like a cohesive, complete piece, regardless. I mean, I think there's stuff missing in communicating stuff to the audience, but it doesn't feel like, I think there's things that should have been in the script and should have been, in the cinematography and directing in the first place. He should have had establishing shots for sets they built. These like amazing set designers that made fantastic sets for him, and I can't tell that they're not just on a green screen sometimes. Oh, they built that? Oh, that's amazing. Here's an idea. Why don't you back it off and show it to us? So there's stuff missing, but not things they actually shot, I don't think. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
Yeah. And then we get one more.
Yeah.
Last super chat of the night. from Connor Nielsen.
Hi, Connor.
Won't it be odd if they called it the Snyder Cut / Zack Snyder's Justice League when Zack Snyder is listed as sole director of the theatrical cut Justice League?
Yeah, no, it's really funny. It's
weird.
It's like we all know that those credits were misleading and incorrect, and just the way credits have to work. He shot enough of it that they felt the need to give him. And I don't know, it could have been a contractual thing. It could have been about, how certain people got paid and stuff. I mean, Whedon directed the majority of what we saw in that movie as far as we know, but his name is on it as the director, and it's really weird. Yeah, this is like, on the other hand, we have a lot of director's cuts where, of course, the director's name was on the original, but this is how he would have cut it. But I guess this is weirder because that movie that has his name on it has a bunch of footage he didn't make. So, yeah.
Yeah, we just got one more super chat in from TEdge1. He just clarifies that Ozzy and Drix is an animated TV show based off of Osmosis Jones.
Okay, yeah.
Which is a WB movie. So, yeah.
I didn't even know
it'll
they
probably
made
be on
that.
there. Yeah, I didn't know about that. I think I saw that movie once when I was a kid, but I didn't know about that. But if it's a WB movie and show, it probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? We're not going to know really until tomorrow just how much of their library is going to be there. Because it's sort of like Disney where, the impression I'm getting is most of their library, but not everything, with both TV and movies. I mean, the wording specifically, for instance, for superhero stuff, is real particular, right? They've said every DC movie made, and I've seen this wording in 2 or 3 different articles, which means it must have come from a press release directly from the source, is the assumption I'm making. HBO, it's got to be HBO that said this. They're like, it's going to be every superhero movie DC's made in the last 10 years, and every Superman and Batman movie in the last 40 years. Which means not necessarily every superhero movie that has ever been made by that company. Mm-hmm. Like, Green Lantern might not be there. I mean,
you wouldn't say it that weirdly.
I mean, who cares? Well, I guess that would be in the last decade, though, so I guess that probably will be there. But, no, but exactly. It's so specific the way they worded that. That doesn't necessarily, like, anything that was a DC property in the first place, that doesn't necessarily mean that that Wanted is there. It doesn't necessarily mean that even Watchmen is there. It probably will be. It's on DC Universe right now, so I mean, it'd be weird if it wasn't, but...
Yeah. This is...
And then when they say every Batman and Superman movie, do they mean theatrical? Do they mean live action? Like, they weren't very specific about that.
Yeah. People are casting the Zack Snyder cut of the Geekvolution movie in the chat, and it's really funny.
Somebody said Vincent D'Onofrio should be
Brandon,
Vince.
Which is perfect.
Oh, yeah, that is really good.
David Cross is perfect as Brandon.
Another.
Somebody said Charlie Day as Eric, which I love also.
Another actor I could see playing Brandon is his name is escaping me. Ross from Friends, I think, would be good for Brandon.
Oh, David Schwimmer.
Yeah, Schwimmer would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, but the only problem is both those guys are way older than Brandon now. So.
Well, that's true. They could just play us all in the future. Yeah. I want McAvoy as me. I will settle for nothing less than James McAvoy.
No, people are saying Seth Rogen, of course.
He's also too old at this point.
John, we're getting lots of super chat. John Ty, why was it that people liked the fact that fans got to dictate the Sonic movie, and for the Snyder Cut, everyone hates it?
These are 2 very different things. This is a false equivalency, I think. What people were excited about with the Sonic thing wasn't that necessarily. I mean, okay, some people obviously have this. Oh, yay, they listen to the fans. But again, everything's case by case. The reason that people were glad about that, and that to some degree, I think they should have been glad about that, is that they should have gone with something closer to that design in the first place. What they were making didn't look like Sonic the Hedgehog. It wasn't what anybody wanted, and that's not me saying that the fans should dictate what a thing is. Wouldn't it be nice if you started from, let's at the very least like stay true to the spirit of what the initial thing is? Why even have a thing called Sonic the Hedgehog if it has nothing to do with Sonic the Hedgehog, pretty much, right? So like, just at the very base level, this is for no one. I think, what the fans want kind of matters at that point, right? I think we've gotten really, by the way, hung up on this idea of should we give the fans what they want and should we not. I think there's a common sense element to this, where to some degree, of course, you have to do that, but not all the way down to we dictate every single morsel. Oh, you didn't have my favorite version of Alfred Pennyworth. You better fix that. Like, it starts to get really silly, and that's becoming kind of a problem. With Sonic, it was all about the design of the character. Just make it look like Sonic. That's all anybody wanted. To the point where I think some people, with respect, I know there's people that like that movie. I know a lot of people like that movie. This is just how I feel about it. I think a lot of people would have liked that movie a lot less if it was exactly the same movie but with that other design. I really do. I think a lot of people would have gone to the theater like expecting to hate that movie because they didn't like the design, and then they would complain about a lot of the things that were in that movie that they didn't notice or didn't care to notice because they made that one change that made them happy. I really do. And when it comes to the Snyder thing, I mean, that's just a matter of releasing something that people wanted to see because they knew it existed. I think in both of those cases, it was kind of fair for the fans to go, man, I wish we could have this thing. Or I don't even think fans were like demanding, oh, you better change the design. Nobody expected that. They just went, and this was just a good business move. Oh, crap, our movie's going to flop if we don't fix that. Nobody wants to see this movie now. So they changed it because it was the only way people would go see it. In that particular instance, I think that was the right business move. I don't want that kind of thing to keep happening. But they should have been smart enough to make it look like Sonic in the first place. That's all. It's just a dumb move.
And then the last...
Well, it was!
It's from Burned In. Who is this? I'm not familiar.
I'm not either. Welcome. How you doing?
Thanks, man. Or woman, or specific person who gave us a super chat. Burned In.
It's an androgynous person named Allison. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
How would you feel about a Snyder Cut of every film ever made? And which ones? You want specific ones?
You see, Snyder didn't make every film ever made, so the Snyder Cut was a thing that was like laying on the cutting room floor. They could put it together and then make a Snyder Cut. But no, that is an amusing joke. I want the Snyder version of Field of Dreams. I want the like rough and tumble, like grimdark Field of Dreams. It's not even a voice in a cornfield anymore. It's just like a guy with a machete who's like, build it or I'll slice your head off. Yeah. But he's only like that in the action scenes. In all the rest of the scenes, he's just talking.
He's just talking.
He brands people occasionally, but that's about as violent as he actually gets.
Yeah, that's a crazy question. What would lend itself to?
Do I have to be remotely serious about this? Because I don't want to be. I just want to keep going. Driving Miss Daisy, the Snyder Cut of it. Yeah. I want the Snyder
Wizard
Cut
of Oz. I say Wizard of Oz.
I want the Snyder Cut of Mrs. Doubtfire.
He's just whacking people with frying pans.
But again, only in the action scenes. Professor Zoom says Ninja Turtles 1990. That's a good response. It's a good serious response, but I don't want to be serious about this. But no, what would actually lend itself to that?
Spider-Man 2, where the whole thing is the tone of the horrifying doctor.
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah.
Oh, that scene scared me. I've only seen that scene once, by the way. I always used to skip that scene when I watched that movie as a kid.
Mutai says Snyder Cut of A Clockwork Orange. That sounds horrifying.
Oh.
Yikes.
Just all the goodness sucked out of it. Just the horrifying stuff. I don't know, man. That's a crazy question.
Yeah, it's wild.
Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Snyder Cut of Brightburn. Oh, that makes sense.
Well, yeah. No, that would be Field of Dreams. That would be Snyder's Field of Dreams. That's what that is. Yeah, exactly. How can we make Glass more insane and incoherent and nonsensical? I know. We get the Snyder Cut of it. Do we have Snyder Cut of Baywatch? So Kellen Rourke. So, do we have any more super chats, DJ?
No, we do not.
Why don't you throw out like a couple more pre-written, and then we'll go ahead and call it a night.
All right, let me go back to the beginning. Do you? Okay, here's a question.
Snyder Cut of the Fountainhead. Sorry, go ahead. We can just read this all night long.
We kind of didn't talk about. We kind of talked about this a little bit.
Zack Snyder's Cats. Yes.
Okay.
That's the same movie, right?
That's the best. Showgirls.
Hello, Daniel Davis. Hello. Okay. What else you got?
So earlier, Christopher Davis asked us if the Snyder Cut is overwhelmingly positive. Will WB bring Zack back?
Yeah, we've already talked about that earlier. I think anything is possible at this point. Well, we talked about the idea of that universe continuing on, but actually bringing Snyder back in, I think there's every possibility that happens, honestly. If they have a good working relationship with him coming back and doing this, because it seems like he's actually involved in doing this. That's the sense I'm getting. Where he's gonna get to oversee his version of this, which is funny because I think there was weren't there reports that for some movie, was it BVS, that he was locked out of the editing room at some point, or am I misconstruing that with some other director from some other movie? I thought I heard that at some point. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm not sure.
Might be tranking your Snyders.
I mean, I know that happened with Trank, but I thought it happened with something else too. Yeah, yeah.
You could be right. I have no idea.
I got a little too Snyder in my Trank.
I think he had complete control over BVS, and that's what started this whole thing. I don't know.
Or maybe I was thinking of this. I have no idea. Anyway, whatever. But yes, no, I think it's possible. I think it'd be really weird if they had him come back and direct a movie, even while they're kind of getting rid of the DCEU, where it's we're still just making movies and some things will connect and we're not building to anything, but we'll let Snyder make one of those. Also, that would be very strange.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true or if this is his idea, but Mutali asks, what do you guys think of a spin-off show to The Shining called The Overlook coming to HBO Max? Is that a thing, or is he just
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard of that, but that would be crazy, especially because they just did the sequel book to The Shining.
I mean, I guess there could maybe be a show in that where you just, it would just be ghost stories in that hotel.
Yeah, everything that happens in that hotel.
I think it'd be cool if that was kind of an anthology thing where every week it's just a different family and crazy stuff that happens to them.
Oh, people are saying it's a thing. Everyone's saying it's a thing.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Wow.
Okay.
That's cool.
Wonder what that'll be like.
I mean, you like Stephen King a lot, so.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a series in that, but we'll see. I didn't think there was in Bates Motel either, and it's one of my favorite shows now, so.
Yeah.
And it's also about a creepy motel.
There is a show that I just added to my
I'm sorry, that's a hotel. Those are two totally different things.
There's a show on HBO right now that's like a room. It's The Room Number is the name of the show, and it's all these things that happen in this room that are horrifying.
Mutali says he thinks it is an anthology. It sounds like that might be making exactly what I just pitched. That would be really cool.
That's cool. I love anthology shows. I love that those have made a comeback.
Oh my God, Zack Snyder's John Wick. Imagine if you had two different John Wicks.
Zack Snyder's Mary Poppins. That movie's already pretty horrifying.
Where Mary Poppins herself says, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." Okay, can we do one more question, DJ?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Most of the ones I took at the beginning, we kind of talked about in some capacity, so it's hard for me to. You guys start shooting some questions at us, and we'll answer.
We'll pick the best one. Zack Snyder's Spawn. No, that'd be perfect. It would be just as incoherent as it already is. He's exactly the right guy for that.
Zack Snyder's Beauty and the Beast.
I don't even need that to make sense. It doesn't already.
Spawn. That actually, yeah, that's a good fit.
No, I think it's perfect. That's a great pick. Well, now people are just saying Zack Snyder movies. We may not have any more questions, DJ. We may just call it a night.
Birds real of fake. What does that mean?
I don't know. John Ty, how do you feel about Doom Patrol? I've only seen the pilot and I liked it, but I haven't watched any further yet. Robert Wild, how would you feel about Eldon Henson playing you in a biopic? I'm not sure who that is. Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is off the bat. Somebody a while ago.
Oh, people keep asking me or maybe it's just Christopher Barker. Are you more excited for Black Widow? Somebody earlier said maybe it was the same person, more excited than Wonder Woman. No, definitely not. I mean, Wonder Woman's my most anticipated movie of the year. But yeah, so Black Widow, I'm hoping that's great. I'm not excited for that, but I'm not
Yeah, definitely Wonder Woman. For me too. But someone said Foggy from Daredevil is that actor that they were talking about for you?
Oh, that's yeah, I can see that. No, that's pretty good. Sure.
That's cool. Burned In popped in with another super chat saying, favorite game in the Arkham trilogy, Cap?
Definitely City. Because I think Arkham City is a great story on top of great gameplay. Asylum is too, but Arkham City is like, and I've said this before, is like the epic story, like 2-year giant Batman story event that we never got post No Man's Land. That should have been like that. Well, we got Bruce Wayne murder, but it's not great. But you have you have Nightfall, and then you have No Man's Land, and that would have been if it was done in comics, like that next great giant Batman event that goes between all the books. But they did it in a video game. I think it worked really well. I think it's some of Paul Dini's absolute best work. And the gameplay is a lot of fun too. I mean, I think the gameplay was perfected in Night. Say whatever you will about the Batmobile stuff. So like that as a video game, I guess I like more. But Arkham City as a whole package, I think is just stellar. And I think it's probably my favorite of those kinds of games, even. Well, guys, I think that is going to do it for us this evening. Didn't plan on going for 2 hours, but we had a good-sized crowd, a whole bunch of questions, so we thought we'd go ahead and blow through a second hour. DJ, thanks so much for sticking around with me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we had a lot of stuff to talk about. It was a fun night.
Me too. It was a fun night. It was great. You guys, thanks so much for, once again, just being here and hanging out with us. If you're watching after the fact, leave your comments. Tell us what you thought of some of the stuff we talked about with HBO Max, with the Snyder Cut. And we'll talk more about HBO Max as we learn more about it. And once I finally decide to subscribe to it, I'll talk more about it. I don't, since you're getting it, I may go ahead and do it. I'd follow DJ off a cliff. I just do whatever DJ does. So.
You know, it'd be crazy. What do you think? I can't have to work tomorrow, but it would have been crazy if he stayed up till midnight tonight and just did a video, like scanning through everything.
Oh, that'd be a great idea. Yeah, but you gotta work tomorrow, so you can't do it.
At midnight. Yeah, I don't know if it comes out at midnight or if it's gonna come out. I don't know exactly when it comes out. I know it's
we
the
could
27th.
just get on at our next convenience though, and just both look through it real quick and do a video, because I could just screen share and we could look at what's on it.
We could do it. Tomorrow around lunch or sometime. I don't know. Now we're just having Geekvolution.
We do this all the time. Everything, yeah. The conference calls are always live on Geekvolution. They are. We don't leave anything to the imagination. There's no inside baseball here. You see all the inside baseball. It's all outside baseball. We do it outside. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
What is happening?
No, I thought it could be like, if you had time, if you didn't have to go to work tomorrow, it could have been like waiting for the Orville, but it's for HBO Max. It's waiting for HBO Max. We just sit around and wait for it to come up.
Fun, dude. I'm not putting it off the table. I'm gonna look into it and see if it's dropping right at midnight.
Okay, we'll talk about it. We could see you guys a little bit later doing a really silly thing where we just comb through things. That's a good idea.
That's all I do. That's all I do every night anyway. Is I sit down and I start skimming to find something, and then it's an hour later and I haven't found anything, and I just go to bed.
He's a slave driver, man. He's like, yeah, you don't have enough videos this week. What are you talking about? Posting like 5 videos. Nah, you gotta do more things. Get more stuff up. Do it. Do it live.
Selfish man.
All right. Well, once again, you guys
are
great.
For you guys.
We sure appreciate everybody. We'll see you again on Thursday for yet another Captain Logan show, and then we'll have After Dark after that. I was Captain Logan. This was DJ Martinez, and we'll see you again next time.
Snyder Cut.